Hello folks and welcome. So Linux Mint has officially released 22.1, version 22.1 Cinnamon. Whether you're one of my subscribers or just someone who is watching this off the internet, I'm also going to give you some tips while talking about what's new. Everything is default. That would be including that tiny panel bar. So I am filming in 1080, but my display is set for 4K mode. I will show you how to make these icons larger, how to make this menu larger, these icons down here larger, and stuff like that. So for some of your more advanced users, I will be talking about how you can use your file manager and use an SSH command to log into your computer's running server software. I'll talk a little bit about firewalls also, especially if you're running server software. But generally, I'm going to just start out the video by what's new, and Linux Mint can be used for any skill level. All right, welcome folks. Subscription key is in the corner. For new subscribers, I recommend that you also read my About section. And anyways, why I do videos and etc. Anyways, first steps. So hopefully you know how to install a Linux distribution. If not, you can go onto Linux Mint's website and get some tips there. But this is assumed that you already installed it. And I'll talk a little bit about the system requirements also. But new features, that's what I'm going to go through first. I'll open up the website for Linux Mint, also talk about the minimum system requirements, that kind of stuff. And then we're going to go into tips and tricks. All right, new features. So 22.1 is going to be supported until 2029. For you folks that are already running Linux Mint 22, generally Clem and his team, the Linux Mint team, will have some upgrade instructions, usually within a week or even less. The name of this distribution is that. I will do one of my special tricks to enlarge that. So I'm holding down the control key while scrolling up with my computer mouse. I'm not using a touchpad. I don't really care for those things. But anyways, that's the name of the 22.1 distribution. One of the things that you will notice is it doesn't have Synaptic Package Manager installed, if some of you folks know what I'm talking about. So you're going to be using Software Manager. You can also use Terminal to install software. I will make these things bigger a little bit later when I get into tips and tricks. All right, you can read about what apt-get and Captain is in Software Manager. Generally, it has a very short description of what they are. Okay, and Captain is generally used for Debian kind of base packages. Not a big deal, but more importantly, there's been a whole bunch of updates done with that kind of things. All right, I'm going to skip over some things. So when we are dealing with the updater, that would be that little shield down there, this is generally what you're going to see. When you install this system, the first thing that you do on your welcome screen is go through a list, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I suggest you do that. All right, I'm talking about what's new. So power modes, and I'll also be showing you some of my tricks. So keep watching. Now, if you don't have time to watch this video in one sitting, subscription key. That way you can start watching today, hit stop or pause, and come back tomorrow or the next day or whenever you have time. I will be showing you quite a few of these things. And for you fans of the XFCE desktop or Mate, the power modes can be done this way. Nightlight is something that you will find in your settings. And it will be disabled by default. You can turn it on and you can take a look at some of the schedules. I will be showing you this. All right, so anyways, you can see that this thing calculates your local sunrise and sunset based on your time zone. So a lot of things that when you plug in information gets pulled off of that. You can also log into the system in the Wayland environment. I am not, because of the recording software that I'm using doesn't work in Wayland. You do that from the login screen, and what you're going to be looking for is that icon that looks like the cinnamon icon. What does that icon look like? It looks like that on your login screen, right underneath your username, or above it, I should say. All right, you click that, and you'll see Wayland Experimental, and you can log in that way. All right, I'll talk about some of these things that you're going to see. Now, in the previous version of 22, these boxes had a squarish look to them. These have now soft round corners, and the buttons also, the things you click on. All right, the same thing with the volume. I'll actually hit the plus key for a second and let you see the pop-up. All right, so lots of improvements. Lots of improvements. It's not the same version as obviously as 22. It's got slight improvements. And again, you can choose to upgrade or do a fresh install if you want 22.1. The other version is going to be supported for a long time. I'll take you to Mint's website and let you see when your schedules end on those older systems for Mint. All right, so artwork improvements. This is not what you're going to see, but generally I have lots of different videos. If you want to collect the older versions and put them in this list for your backgrounds, okay, but this is currently what you get right out of the box, minus I added some pictures. But anyways, these are the ones. When you click these for the first time, allow the system to build those. And then you can use your own. I show these quite frequently. These are just demo images. So I'm leaving everything default currently. Then we're going to talk about making icons bigger and all that good stuff. Okay? So again, this is going to be supported until 2029. And it uses a 6.8 series Linux kernel. Okay, some of your release notes, I'm just going to scroll over these because a lot of times virtual boxes and stuff doesn't mean too much to a lot of folks. Okay, so if you have sound issues, let's say you're using an older computer and Pipewire doesn't work, you may want to take a peek at that. And the Snap Store has been disabled for a long time. All right, and then if you are into doing encryption, you may want to read this for your home directory or full disk encryption. You are offered that during install. Touchpad drivers, again, I am not fond of those things. I generally even use a mouse on a laptop if I have to. If I absolutely have to use that touchpad, then I will. I have a laptop with Linux Mint on it, and the touchpad does work. I was just doing a video the other day that was actually using Windows 11 for my demo. It's but my only Windows video. But that laptop has a touchpad. But I still just plugged in a standard USB-based mouse. So if you're into some wine, as one would say, not the drinking kind, for Windows kind of applications, you can look into that. All right, so ZFS has been removed from the installer if you are fond of that type of file format on your hard drive. And this screenshot is obviously very old because Linux Mint 17.3 is sitting here. But generally, you're gonna, when you boot into, if you wanted to do that, you can follow the instructions if you want to boot into and see this menu. Otherwise, it just boots straight in if you have the only machine Linux Mint 22.1 installed. In other words, it's not a dual boot. Generally, dual booting, you'll see menus like that, and you can select them. All right, so I'm using not an AMD. Yes, I'm using an AMD graphics card. I have to sometimes check because I got lots of computers. But anyways, this one is using an AMD. But if you are running an NVIDIA graphics card, there is a driver manager, and I'll show you that. And you'll be rebooting after installing that. All right, I'm going to close this and actually first go on to Linux Mint's website with that tiny icon. Again, I'm going to make these larger. I have a link here. So I'm going to click that. Here's your install instructions. And you can go take a look at those. And the new features and release notes, I just read them to you. This is also where you can install the XFCE for the lightweight desktop. It's also very favorable on really old computers. And then the traditional Mate desktop. So we're going to click downloads for a second and press the release notes. Okay, not the release notes, sorry, the release announcement. This is where the information about the minimum system requirements. So 2 gigabytes of RAM, I would definitely recommend 4. 20 gigabyte hard drive, I would recommend at least 100, if not more. You can buy really inexpensive 250 gigabyte drives now, 240, 250. Even terabyte drives are getting inexpensive. Screen resolution, again, I'm filming in 1080, but the actual thing is in 4K mode right now, and I'm filming in 1080, believe it or not. But anyways, that's the bare minimum that you need. I know a lot of laptops can't do 4K, but a lot of laptops can do 1080. All right, so anyways, there's some download links, but more importantly, you can get that when you're actually in the official, when you start doing this. It's a 64-bit desktop. LMDE6, which is also a Cinnamon desktop, I believe has a 32-bit. So these are the locations from the different parts of the world. I will now go over to the home screen and take a look at the all versions. 22.1, this version here is called codename that, comes in 3 flavors, supported until 2029. If you are already on Wilma, that's the code name for 22, also supported up till the same date. 21.3 expires in 2027, and you get the idea. LMDE6 does sit at the bottom, and it just says LTS on it. How do you download that? Right from here. When you click download for LMDE6, it has a 32-bit and a 64-bit. Most of your modern computers nowadays are 64. So let's go take a look at some stuff. You would go through the first steps. System snapshots is time shift. It's also found on your installation media. This is a typical new box. So time shift requires me to log in. Our user for today is just a made-up name, is Sam. If you are running any kind of server services, you can install those on Linux Mint. I recommend no auto logins, especially on laptops. And more importantly, I also recommend firewalls. This is a very typical time shift snapshot. Now you can create, I just installed this literally within the last hour. I haven't even done my first snapshot. But at the end of the week, if I continually log in here religiously for about 10 minutes, 15 every day, you should have 5 of these at the end of the week. This is using rsync. rsync had a security issue just posted, I want to say within the last week. You should have been offered an update if you're running the previous version. You will also see an rsync update here to the latest version to address those security issues. rsync is also used by a lot of people in the community to well, do rsyncing of their files over the internet. Okay, so rsync is a very versatile tool. Generally, this tool is going to be, I have several hard drives, but anyways, on this one is a 240 gigabyte. You can see that. Format it with extension 4. The schedule is 5. It does normally excludes your users by default. Use other backup methods. I have multiples if you want to see some of my backup videos. I'm going to click the driver manager and let you see generally. If you needed some drivers, something will pop up. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you will be offered if you want to install the proprietary driver. It doesn't cost you anything except time. Mine doesn't need that. And then Update Manager is the same thing as launching this little icon. And you can also right-click on it to do updates right away. System settings we're going to get into in a couple of minutes. Software Manager, you can do installation of software. They have over 60,000 applications. You can also use Terminal. Let me make this larger for you and punch up history to let you see that I installed. Let's try that again. I installed that simple screen recorder using Terminal. That's a typical command for that. And you can see the name doesn't have any spaces in it. I could have also used Software Manager. Sudo or super user do apt install is the command and whatever the name of the software is. All right, that's a typical thing. Just want to let you know that Synaptic Package Manager is not installed by default. You won't find it there if you type in Synaptic. Not found. The only thing it's finding is my mouse and touchpad. So the firewall comes disabled on this machine. And it is UFW or graphical UFW, otherwise known as GovW. It's very simple to configure these firewalls. I have a complete video on how to do all kinds of profiles and rules and everything else. Generally, your firewalls have no rules when you turn them on. Does that mean that your web browser doesn't work in your upgrader? No, that will work, even without rules. But just wanted to let you know that Linux Mint has those firewalls off. If you decide to install any server services, I recommend firewalls. All right, that's the end of this. Now, let me show you some of the new features visually. That's kind of hard to see with the black wallpaper, so why don't we select something colorful? Right-click on your screen. We'll go with this set. Okay, this is something that comes automatically installed with 22.1. All right, I'm clicking the time down here, and we're going to do all kinds of things by adding the date, and more importantly, we can also click on events. You can also import like a Google Calendar in here. I have shown that in the past. So our start button and shut off now has rounded features on it. Okay, maybe I'll change the wallpaper to something more brighter. Let's go with that one. Okay, now you can see the rounded corners and the rounded buttons. Stay tuned, I'm going to actually add a timer in here where you can program in a time and it'll do an auto shutdown when you initiate this box. Or you can still restart and hit cancel. Let's talk about my screen. Everybody's screen resolution is different. So mine is currently set for 4K in 200%, even though I'm filming in 1080, because I have some settings in this software called Simple Screen Recorder that I can do that with. But generally, if you are switching resolutions, I'm not going to hit apply because it'll terminate my video. But this has a scaling interface of 100 to 200 in that mode there. In 4K though, I have 100%, 200%, 300, and 400. Okay. So let's talk about our panel. Our panel looks very small, at least on my screen. And where do you find that? Well, you can do a search for it. And there's the panel. You can also right-click on this thing, and the panel settings is right at the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I believe it's 40 is where that's set. Now keep an eye on this panel. I'm going to do a whole bunch of things. All right, I made that 50. Now the left zone, center zone, and right zone are right in front of you. If you are not too comfortable with this, make yourself a screenshot. You do have that tool in here. That screenshot tool can lay right on top of this if you want to. So window is normally what I use without the pointer. The pointer is off by default. This is the first time I opened this tool. And you'll see when I get into the menus and stuff, it'll be the first time I open them. So pay attention to how many little toys are in each section. Taking the screenshot, and I'm going to save it to the desktop. All right, so generally defaults to pictures. I'm going to put it on the desktop so you can see it. So I generally have this set a little bit bigger, but I'm keeping everything default. So you can clearly see that where I started from. Well, I cranked that over, but I am going to change that and also change the colored icons. But I have a screenshot. That's what you were looking at. Left zone, center zone, right zone screenshots is what I recommend if you play. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, I normally do this always and put that to 16 because I'm going to put some text in here now. You can put in my stuff. You can put whatever text you want, even misspelled. LM21.1. No, it's 22.1. Cinnamon. Spelling doesn't even count. All right, so I can also give it some space between that icon, and I can also increase that icon. You can see what I'm doing. And if I don't like that icon, I can go with a green one. Okay, so I'll select the default. So this is the cinnamon icon. But this is the standard icon. All right, now we're back over here, and that's the only reason I changed that left zone number. Now the icons themselves, I'm going to scale that either optimally or exactly, and you can now see how big these are. On the right zone, you can see the icon side. I'm going to skip over the center. I normally don't play with that. I'm going to do this also. This is currently set to 16, and this is default. Barely read that. And we're going to talk about the time and the date also in a couple seconds. But the symbolic icon size, those white icons in here, crank them up to whatever you need to. The white icons is what I'm talking about. All right, so that's your panel. Now it's a little bigger. All right, so that icon there, right click, customize, normal, larger. Auto arrange or not. So what's the difference? Snaps back. Turn that off. You can move them around. Okay. This part here is if you have multiple icons, you can separate them. This is going in a vertical direction, so I would be adjusting this for closer together icons or farther apart. That's all that means. And if you use the horizontal, it'll be this line. Okay. Mint menu is still too small, isn't it? I'm going to grab a hold of the corner with my computer mouse because I'm using a computer mouse, not a touchpad. I made that taller. Now I'm going to make these icons larger. Right click, configure, menu. Maybe a screenshot before you play. That's all up to you. So the default is 22, 22, 32. That's the size of these icons. This is called your favorites. So basically the favorites is at 32, it's bigger. But what I'm going to do to this is I'm going to do a 42, and a 52 on this one, and hit enter on the last one. Now you can see they're a lot bigger, more comfortable on the eyeballs. All right, let's talk about some settings. Your themes are in here. You can go to the advanced section and buttons. That's what I call them, button sets, but it says applications. You can select different ones. Icon sets and desktop. I haven't opened this yet, so pay attention to the number when it comes up. It's refreshing. It's 97. These are themes that you can install with that arrow. Okay? These are action items, generally the stuff that interfaces all over your desktop. Some of these you cannot uninstall, but you can turn them off. There's also more of these, 56, that you can install with the arrow key. And the layout is something that was introduced in 22. You'll also find a lot of these in your file manager Nemo. Okay. You remember earlier I said I was going to let you see a timer in here? Well, I'm going to do it from here. The default is 60 seconds. I don't like that. I'm going to put in 15 seconds and hit enter. And I'll let you see what that looks like now. It's counting down. It's going to auto shut down, and when that timer hits 0, hitting cancel. There's lots of little things in here. I'm not going to cover every one of them in this video, but I have lots of tips like this on my YouTube site. This is new. It's called Nightlight. It comes turned off. In those notes about what's new, it talked about this tool, how you can turn it on and adjust the color temperature, especially for nighttime. Schedule is automatic and specific start and end times if you need to. Now it's on. Now it's off. All right, so if you don't like the buttons over here, you can flip this over to the left. It's that quick. Lots of little tips like that I have. The firewall, again, if you're using server software. Where's the software actually coming from? This is the packages from this new name of this distribution. Your previous one was Wilma. And this is coming from the Ubuntu side because Linux Mint 22 is an Ubuntu type of system. LMDE6 will have Debian across here. Okay, these are now you know where they were coming from. Except for Flatpak software, which we'll talk about next. The driver manager can be opened here also and from your welcome screen. And I am going to take and cut that and throw it into my file manager pictures. And generally I would just create a folder. I'm going to call it SCR for screenshots. And hit paste. Software Manager, 60,000 plus applications. The first time you click this, give it a second, it'll build the cache for it. In other words, it's building the library. And after that, this should launch faster. So this is Mint install 8.3.6, otherwise known as Software Manager. Synaptic Package Manager is not installed by default on 22.1. But you can still install software using terminal. Everything is point and click in here, so it's rather easy to use. Your preference boxes are set to show unverified Flatpaks off, not recommended. You can turn that on if you want to take that risk. Now, when the app has multiple formats, the list all types is here. But you can also change it to list system package. I will show you the difference right now. I'm going to type in a package or a piece of software called GIMP. I have also 2 videos on that, one from last year and one very recent, talking about this filter right here. So GIMP is it's similar to Photoshop. System packages here, Flatpak is this one. All right, Flatpak generally is a little bit bigger too because it's a self-contained thing. Just want to let you see that. Now the couple of tricks that I am showing you, if you're using a standard mouse, double click on that line to go full screen. Click and hold and pull it down. It's the same thing as doing that. All right, so we have lots of software. Generally, all of these are the same. They've just been updated. And web apps, I have shown this many, many times. You can look for my older videos. You can even make yourself a web icon that doesn't go to the internet on your home router. For your home router, I have one on one of my other systems. It's very easy. But generally, you're just going to be filling in boxes. You don't have to have any coding skills. But if you like, I'll give you some tips on my videos for that. All right, so I'm going to scroll through these very quickly. So basically, LibreOffice is on the latest version, version 24 dot something. You have a rhythm box player. You've got Celluloid as a video player also. I added simple screening and I installed it through Terminal. So yes, you can install it through Software Manager or Terminal. Your standard backup tool will be using TAR, which is Tape Archive, uncompressed. Your file manager is much more superior in my book for that, but in case you wanted to utilize the tool, there's two sections. One for your files, personal files, and one for a list of your software that you installed. All right, in either case, TimeShift is found here and on your installation media. Preferences, that's pretty much like opening that. All right, now let's talk about the file manager. Nemo 6.4.3, and all of your settings are over here on preferences. These plugins are also the same thing that you saw pretty much over here, where your action items. All right, so if you turn off something, you will see it disappear in this menu. Make a bootable disk. I will basically turn that off. You'll see that all of a sudden go off. So this is one way to click it, another way in here. You also have a tool for that USB. It's right here. It's called Image Writer. And also image or formatter, which you can do to format USB sticks in multiple formats. All right, so generally my tips on this is if I'm using a regular computer mouse and a standard keyboard, hold down the control key, scroll back and forth with your computer mouse to make them bigger or smaller. You can always drag this, and you can also do this manually. Okay. If you're looking at pictures, you can right click on them and set them as wallpaper. It's very simple to do. I just did it. I can also click that and hit my spacebar to get a preview and spacebar to close. Double click to open. This tool is different. It says X-Viewer. It also has a slideshow. I'm pulling that down. Double click. Same thing as doing that. Close. For your more advanced users, if you have a machine on your local network that is running, let's say SSH server, secure shell server, you don't have to install any software with Linux Mint desktop to log into it. If you're hosting server services, that's not a problem. What I'm going to do here though is let you see that I have a firewall here, and I'm going to turn it on with no rules. Okay. And then I'm going to click that and type in SSH, which stands for Secure Shell, :2 forward slashes. And I'm not really going to get deep into this. I just wanted to let you see by default software, you can do this to your log into your server. And I've already accepted the security certificate earlier. So basically it's going to be offering you that if you're doing this on your local network. I'm just going to do that. So the username on that system is Bob. All right, that's Bob's system, and that's his files. I can use F3 to borrow some things. Sam is over here, Bob is over here, toggling the entry. That says SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol, and we can drag an image over. My firewall has no rules. I just turned it on. I'll let you see this. So when you're running server services, though, I do recommend those. I can go the other way also. Actually, let me use this one here and see if it's there. And it isn't. Bob, local machine. Bob on the Linux server running SSH. Just a couple of little tips for you. I'm at 36. This is generally ready to go because your file manager, until you either log out, reboot, this will stay connected unless you unmount it. Some file managers are really stubborn about this. Like with Plasma, you need to really do some different things. Not with Nemo. If I want to disconnect, all I do is click that. Now, why is that icon showing on my desktop? Because generally, doing the desktop settings, this is the only thing that is being shown. Mounted drives. What if I don't want to see that? Then you turn it off. And you won't see that icon anymore. It will still be mounted here, though. So I'll put this back to default, because that's what that is. Now I'm going to unmount it. It's a network drive, right? Yes. I don't have Samba installed. This is a standard install. I added no software except for the recording software. Okay. For your more advanced users, you may want to open up Software Manager, and you can install OpenSSH Server. And again, when you do, firewalls. They're extremely easy to set up, actually. All right, I talked about the file manager. I talked about your software manager. I talked about Synaptic not being installed, so I might as well punch that back up. It is available in here, if I type it in correctly. Spelling can be horrible sometimes. English is my second language. But anyways, and I understand there's plenty of viewers around planet Earth that, they understand English but not really grasp it. And a lot of people do speed read videos. I don't do those. I try to slow down because I do understand people that speak different languages. I appreciate that. And sometimes I repeat myself for that reason. Anyway, Synaptic is not installed. You can if you like. All right, I'm going to go back to wallpapers and walk through this one more time. Standard wallpaper or background. Okay, some people have different names for these. So you can choose whatever you like in here. These are fairly standard and have been like this for a long time. This folder is new though. Okay, and the first time you click in there, just allow it to build. And they've got some cute images in here. Some of them very bright. Then you can bring in your own. If you have very small images like that 1024 by 720, you can adjust them in here with that thing here. So let you see what centered looks like. And we can also do scaled, and it'll have black bars on this image, but maybe not so much on others. It all depends on the size of the images. Okay, so that's why that comes in zoomed. So I lose part of the butterfly. You can see his wingtip is being cut off. But generally, you can make changes yourself. You can also play this as a slideshow. If the folder that you selected, let's take this one. You can change it all the way down to 1 minute. And you can do it in regular order or random. This is now picking images from this folder, and that's why they're semi-grayed out and you can't click on them. Just turn this back off when you're done playing. So I'm going to switch this back to the standard wallpaper and say thank you for watching.